So last time we were talking about a place of non-abiding, which is the two qualities, focusing on the two qualities of the mind. And the first quality is the awareness. The mind has a quality of awareness, which is large, spacious, still, and calm. And the second quality is the sense impressions that pass by, which are triggered from external factors. Through the eyes, we see, we can hear, we can smell, we can touch, and we can taste, and we think about what we saw, what we heard, what we smelled, what we touched, and so on, and what we tasted. So these things, one is the awareness, and the other is what are you aware about? Now, generally, we are only going with the whole sense impressions. So we get carried away with the sense impressions. So this is, the awareness is the stillness of the mind, and the sense impressions keep coming and going is the flowing state of the mind. And generally, as pratyabhjanas, we get carried away with the sense impressions. So we get carried away with the flow. We flow with the flow. A place of non-abiding is to remember the awareness and to stay with the awareness and observe the flow. So how does this work? Yesterday I heard a really great talk, and this was again at the Saturday afternoon Servants of the Buddha, the weekly talk. And this time the speaker was none other than the principal, the Venerable Thero of our Dhamma school, Venerable Palene Dhammakusala Thero, and he resides in the Berlin Vihara in Germany, and he connected over Zoom to give us this lovely talk. He based it on a sutta called the Sallekha Sutra. Sallekha. The English title is, it's a discourse on effacement. A discourse on effacement. So long story short, it's something like this. When you are with somebody and that person is thinking, speaking, and behaving in a way that is harmful. So person might be saying something and doing something that is harmful to you, where it's triggering harmful thoughts in you, you remain harmless. So this is the essence of it. When a person is behaving, speaking in a way that is triggering harmful thoughts in you. So what are these harmful thoughts? So anger, ill will, hostility, jealousy, various other things are getting triggered in you. You remain harmless. You take action, take a will. You start, creating thoughts to remain harmless. So when somebody is saying something, you are getting angry, you make an effort and you start creating thoughts to remind yourself to be kind and be in a loving, kind state and not get into that harmful state. So when one person is being harmful, you be harmless. That is the short version. When somebody is being harmful, you remain harmless. And I thought that was a brilliant one. So I checked up on this Sallekha Sutta on the internet and found some very nice narratives. And in that, it talks about 16 defilements of the mind. So what are these 16 defilements? So let me, okay, there we go. So the first one is covetousness. Covetousness, yes. So this is, we generally hear this more like somebody is trying to covet another person's girlfriend, right? So if you remember the war of Troy, Paris, the Prince Paris ran away with Helen, somebody else's wife. So this is about a strong wish to have something, especially something that belongs to someone else, covetousness, right? So whenever such a wish comes to our mind, we may not actually go and do it, but when such a wish comes to our mind, number one is to be aware. And then number two is to cultivate, develop thoughts to overcome this and to come back to that not defiled state. So the awareness that our defilement has entered the mind. So ill will, second one is ill will, this whole animosity, hostility, hatred. Third one is, of course, anger, then hostility, unfriendliness, denigration, which is some of these things I had to look up actually. I haven't come across this word denigration before. This is an action of unfairly criticizing someone or something. And I think all children can relate to this because many a times we feel that our parents are unfairly criticizing us about something, and even sometimes at school or even later on in life at work. I think all humans can relate to this. Domineering, asserting one's will over another in an arrogant way. Envy, a feeling of resentful longing aroused by someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. And I think it's a very common thing, isn't it? Envy. Jealousy. So what's the difference between envy and jealousy? Because it is specifically mentioned here. So jealousy is feeling of insecurity. Okay. So envy is simply a resentful longing for someone else's possessions, qualities, or luck. Jealousy is a feeling of insecurity, fear, and concern over one's lack of that possession. Feeling of jealousy. So envy is you wanting it. Jealousy is your feeling of, I don't have it. Hypocrisy, the practice of claiming to have higher standards than what is really the case. Fraud, intentional deception, obstinacy, stubbornness, presumption, behavior perceived as arrogant, transgressing the limits of what is permitted or appropriate. Interesting. Conceit, excessive pride in oneself. And I think this is something we all can relate to, because I feel we all have that conceit, especially as you grow older in life, whether it is education, whether it is career, or whether it is just life experience. There's a lot of conceit that we have seen it, we have done it, we know it, and you don't, kind of a thing. Arrogance, haughtiness, the belief that one is superior over others in a disrespectful or even a disdainful manner. Vanity, inflated pride in oneself. Negligence, failure to take proper care. And I believe here this negligence, it could be body and mind both. Negligence, failure to take proper care. So this list is just to help to understand the subtle differences of the various defilements. But all of these, the Buddha very beautifully clubbed and said Lobha Dvesha. Lobha is the whole greed, and with the greed comes the other things of envy, jealousy, and various other feelings, and Dvesha, which we call aversion, and under aversion we get everything else, or the anger, ill will, hostility, and so on. So while this is a very good detailed breakdown into the 16 defilements of the mind, I think keeping it at a very simple, high level of Lobha Dvesha is sufficient. And the moha is about the whole ignorance. And the whole ignorance part I'd like to highlight here to say that the ignorance is on that awareness. Because what happens to us is we are not aware of the awareness, and that is our ignorance. But the more we become aware of the awareness, we are in a place where we can observe the sense impressions get generated, rise and pass away. And I was recently explaining this to someone, the flow. I was saying, just think of our normal day where we see something, we start thinking, we hear something, we start thinking. And mostly because our mind's wiring is such, we are negatively wired. So when we see something, usually we start thinking negative things about it. When we hear something, we start thinking, and usually those thoughts are negative. And when we touch, smell, or taste something, we start thinking negatively. And then usually the thoughts and moods that come into our mind when we are not thinking about anything, thoughts get triggered, emotions just come in. All those are very natural, free-flowing things. Those are also usually negative. So a good 85-90% of the time, we are covered with negative sense impressions. And what happens is we keep getting on them, getting down, getting on, getting down. So when the eye sees something, we start thinking, we get on to that. Then the ear hears something, we start thinking, then we get down from that eye thing and get on to the ear thing. And then the body will sense something, and then we get down from the ear thing, get on to the body thing. So the entire day we are getting in, getting on, getting out, getting on, getting out, getting on. And by the end of the day, we are very tired because this is very mentally draining, mentally exhausting. But and that is why we need a break in between. We need to sleep 7-8 hours, and mostly we don't get that. So the next day also, then we are feeling tired. And I always used to wonder how the Buddha managed with very less sleep. And it's kind of dawning to me that when you are in that awareness, you are still, you are peaceful, and you see the sense impressions come and go, but you are not getting in and getting out, getting in and getting out. It's this getting in and getting out that is exhausting. But if you are just still and observing, you are not exhausted. Your mind is peaceful, clear, and strong, and with energy. And you have all the energy and the clarity to be loving and kind all the time. And I was thinking, no wonder the Buddha could be loving and kind all the time. So this is why we need to practice. This is why it is such a great thing. So how are we going to practice? Let us do a very short practice to get into the whole thing. So a 2-minute practice each, right? And then we will get to a longer 40-minute kind of a silent practice. So the initial one, I will do a guided practice. So what I will do is, we will first observe this awareness based on what we can hear externally. Secondly, we'll observe the awareness based on what we can feel on our body, based on how we are sitting, as well as the fan or whatever that you can feel. Thirdly, we'll just open our eyes, and the first two we are going to do with our eyes closed. We'll open our eyes and see what we can see, and observe from that awareness how the seeing is creating sense impressions, and how we can be just aware about it. And then fourth, we will close the eyes and observe thoughts, emotions, mood for 2 minutes, right? If you have any water or something nearby, we can also do how the taste, observing the awareness of taste, how that works. But I think no, let's just stick with this. Otherwise, you'll have to now get up and go and get water and everything. All right, so let's just do this practice. So sit comfortably. Close your eyes. And for the next 2 minutes, observe sound. Just be aware of the sounds that you can hear. Stay at that pristine awareness only. Okay? Let us start now. Okay, now let us move to observing our body. What you can do is start with your feet. Be aware of what you feel for your feet. Come up the legs, knees, thighs. Then how you are seated, the bottom part of your body, lower body. And come to your upper body, the stomach, chest area, shoulders, hands, neck, head. Then starting from the head, let's go down again. So head, neck, shoulders, hands, upper body, chest, stomach, lower body. Feel the weight of how you're sitting, thighs, knees, legs, feet. And just observe, just be aware how you feel the seat. If there's any air coming and touching you because of the fan. Is there any subtle pain or discomfort? Just be aware. Let us start now. Okay, so now next, just open your eyes and just be aware of what you can see. Let's do that for 2 minutes. Now the 2 minutes is up. Now please close your eyes again. And just when your eyes were open, visually, it can be very disturbing. Visuals shatter the peace the most. Now just ease into that calmness. And let us observe what is going in the mind. Thoughts, moods. Just be aware of thoughts and moods and emotions of the mind for 2 minutes. you. Now you can open your eyes. You can end the meditation, the guided meditation. So, any questions? So we can move to 40 minutes of meditation. Yes, we have time for a good 40 minutes of silent meditation. So what we'll do is, let's continue to observe the awareness. What you can hear, what you can feel, and any thoughts, mood changes that come in. Let's observe. Okay, so I have kept the timer for 40 minutes. Let us start now. And I will pause the recording for the 40 minutes and we'll start the recording again once it's over.